Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the We Know Traitors podcast over here on RHAP. I am your host, the Duke of Deception, and with me is my lovely co-host for the Traitors UK, one only Annabel. We're here to talk about the finale, and we're here to talk about how wild this ending was, because this was not on my bingo cards, Annabel. I genuinely did not see this coming.
I did not see this coming. We thought potentially David could screw the pooch. I did not see it being Nick. It was unexpected. You know, obviously I'm always rooting for the faithful, so I was a little disappointed. But I loved it. I had shivers down my spine at so many different points. I just thought, like, what reality TV show still gives me these feelings? And I love this show. I love this show.
Same. I very much I'm privileged to be in the spot I'm in to get to cover this show as like the quote unquote expert, but I love it so much that how many seasons have we covered? And I still was gagged watching this. I couldn't believe it. When we came into the episode, I thought, Allan's cooked, Kat's cooked. Maybe David votes one of those two out, and then the traitors do have this. But then it was very wild to see the faithful get in their own way here. They had all the tools needed. It looked all but certain. They fumbled it. And by that, I mean, I still thought, okay, they've got this when they voted out Kat anyway. They banished Kat. And I was like, okay, GG's. We just have to watch Allan leave and then they're all going to go green. Or maybe, we see Nick decide which one of these two he believes and goes splitsies 50-50. But to watch Joe leave and like Joe's reaction and then Nick's reaction at the end, this was cinema. Like we were getting authentic reactions that you can make memes of for years to come here. And this is the first season of Traitors UK Celebrity Edition, the fourth season of a UK season, and we still got something fresh to end the season on. I couldn't be happier. Baffled, but I couldn't be happier.
Oh, I'm thrilled. Really, really strong ending to the season. We had a really strong start and a strong finish. I feel like there was a little bit of a lull in the kind of later half of it. But this is absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And I love this show. I think, we know the traitors have an advantage. Statistically, when you look across all of the seasons, they have won the vast majority of them. But we're actually 50-50 on UK seasons generally. So it was nice to have a traitor win here in the UK.
Yeah, I'm very happy with it. And also, I feel like the winner we got here, Allan, is a very unique winner to me. This is a winner who was petrified at the idea of being a traitor and was a traitor from the jump and very much was worried about fumbling. And my God, did he fumble at times, and they clocked it, but still gave it to him. Like they absolutely just gave it to him. So I feel like there was a lot there to look at. On top of all that, I think the whole thing we've never seen someone be so lax about not remembering whether they have shields or not and get away with murder literally there. I also think that we've never had a traitor who is able to crack as many jokes to get away from that. Like we've talked a lot about, and we talked about this, we're talking about this right now with Canada, about how Kevin being goofy out the gate should help him. And Allan is proof of that. Of if you have a personality that's outward facing, that's jokey, and you are like that from the jump, it can really work to mask some of the other things because you kind of end up being the goofy one.
Goofy, yes. But I think the magic formula here is goofy and then seeming super unstrategic and not super smart or intelligent either.
True, that's fair.
There's been a lot of criticism of the faithful this season, and some of it is certainly warranted. But I actually am not that harsh on Nick and David just refusing to believe Allan is a traitor, even though, we know there was so much evidence. He made so many stuff ups along the way. I just think Allan did a really fantastic job of leveraging his personality to seem so unbelievable. I mean, we didn't believe it. Do you remember in episode 1 when Alan Carr was made a traitor and we said, are you kidding me? This is a train wreck. What were you thinking, production? He was cast to be the first traitor boot, and here we are, the winner.
We literally thought he was going to be the first traitor out, and then we did switch it eventually when the big dog thing came up, but we thought he was going to be the first one out. Like, the first traitor booted from that turret we thought was going to be Alan Carr. He is now our last one standing. I think that often people are so quick to point the fingers at the faithful for fumbling, but I think the reality is you have to celebrate the traitors who did it. I think having all of these things that we saw as evidence for Allan, these things also got used against Allan in the end game. The fact that he was able to parlay that to then still survive and somehow get them to vote out Joe, who we had also talked about had made some mistakes and had people looking at him long enough. So I feel like he was able to jump. Now, I will say the place maybe that I would be unforgiving of the faithful is Nick and David looked at each other and thought, no, we are the solid two. Good. I don't care that you think he's a faithful also. Boot him and split the money. I think that's maybe the only place I'm willing to be critical of the faithful here. Otherwise, I'm just celebrating Allan for pulling one over on them.
See, I don't think they did look at each other and say we're the solid two, though. David told us when they got down and they're explaining why they've chosen to end the game, that Nick is the one he has suspicion of over Allan. And Allan has previously been trying to throw David under the bus. I don't think that there was that level of trust needed from Nick and David to vote again. Can we go through this episode beat by beat? Because for a rare treat, we've only got one episode. And I just think there was so much to unpack at each point.
Sure, please navigate it. Take it away.
Okay. So we get into the breakfast and they're coming in one by one, and it's being really set up in the way that we thought it was going to be ending last week, where Nick thinks it's Kat, Joe's on to both of them. Kat and Allan have sworn, we are in here together. We're not breaking on each other. And we don't get any names from David because the whole thing is being set up to make it look like David is the swing vote. And
Yes.
It's not until pretty much post-mission that it's going to be uncovered that, in fact, David is not the swing vote here at all. A major beat we missed last week, which I've been absolutely kicking myself for, we didn't notice that Kat has let herself become the last woman left, and that we have not caught a female traitor.
Yes. That was a huge misfire. And we didn't clock it either, though. But the fact that Jonathan was the only one gone, of course, and because I've seen someone mention in the comments after the fact that the whole no one's gonna meta that there's gonna be 3 of the same gender on, even though we have now had that happen. But no one's gonna assume that. So with only Jonathan being ousted and now you're the only woman remaining, it's not looking ideal at final 5. You are almost the easier vote out at 5 to then just get to 4 and figure it out who is maybe the other traitor remaining. Because even if they thought it was 2 traitors, I don't think they were looking at it as 2 men were running the traitor castle.
Well, it would have had to have been, if it's not Kat, they would have had to have chosen 3 men to be traitors.
Right.
And that was never going to happen when Claudia was so critical in season 2.
Yeah.
So crazy. Post-breakfast, we get, David is with Kat and Allan. Kat and Allan spend a lot of time with David post-breakfast and during the mission. They're the ones in a car with him. I'm panicking at this point, Pooya. I'm thinking, why aren't Nick and Joe marinating David?
I know. The moment that I was like, oh, we've lost the plot so hard was when they had this moment where they're like, so we could get David in here and convince him to go for Kat, or we can just vote out David and then get these two out later when they least expect it. Later when? There's 4 of you. It's a 2-2 at that point. What do you mean later? What do we mean by that?
That was a
Exactly.
major F up by, I agree, Puffy. That was a major mess up by Joe. So Joe and Nick, right there, this is the conversation you're talking about. Joe's like, you know, clearly the traitors are going to team up with David because they know we're a tight pair. Yes, you're right, Joe. That is what they should have done. And Nick's like, well, I'm sure Kat is a traitor. And you know, Joe's like, well, you know, we could go for Kat first, but do we need to consider targeting David? And at this point, he needs to be investing in making sure that Nick knows Allan is a traitor, explaining why it is Allan, and B, like, as you say, shoring up David as a critical number, not flirting with the idea of booting him here.
And I think that we can pinpoint, and this goes beyond this episode, we can pinpoint the moment where the faithful lost the game now that the game is over. And that is when Nick blew up his and Joe's spot with that goddamn chessboard and that goddamn challenge, because that made David really not trust these two for a while, even like you said, working with Nick, but still unsure about Nick getting closer to the end there. And with Joe, that worked against him. That and his like extra energy at the round table that really came back to haunt him here to a certain degree. So that just, you listen, we thought y'all were cooking a little bit by working together. We thought that was fun. Never reveal that kind of stuff. They'll just use it against you, or it'll just make them doubt you, even if you're super cleared. You don't want any doubt.
Completely. I mean, Nick invested so much into his relationship with David to the point where Nick is sitting in a spot where both David and Joe would consider Nick, you know, someone that they trust to vote with, even if David's unsure if he's a traitor. But you're so right.
The two traitors, Annabelle, at that point were like, they wanted to continue to, they thought they were marinating him, so they were going to keep him in. Nick was in a like amazing spot here at the final 5.
I know. It was so stressed. So we did see last week that Nick had been expressing doubts about Joe. You know, he's worried of being made a fool of by Joe. He doesn't want to be seen like he's being marinated. We thought it was a red herring. It's still popping up here at the start. I didn't start taking this seriously, really, until probably we got to the Fire of Truth.
Yes, same. Because even the doubts there felt like, okay, maybe we should have recognized that or thought that was a thing when he started saying, okay, David, it's me and you. We'll see if Joe is with us or voting with them. And I thought, that's weird. You should, at this point, you should be seeing it as, okay, I got David and I got Joe. We're done. But he didn't see it that way. And then at the final 4, I feel like I didn't understand exactly why the cat vote was what he got punished for, when I was like, other stuff clearly mattered here more. I'm similar to you, where I thought once we made it out of the cat vote, I thought, okay, good. That was just little red herring. We can move on. No. That was just, we think there's a woman in the turret. We get out the woman, and then we get out the remaining man in Joe. I did not see that coming. I did not see that coming.
Completely. And if I was going to point to 2 areas where I think Joe could have saved the day this episode, it would be during that morning conversation with Nick. He believes Kat's a traitor. He knows that Kat is the only person Nick feels confident is a traitor. Don't dilly-dally here about getting rid of Kat first. Like, this is going to make Nick feel jumpy. I think the second place where he could have done something differently is post-mission. We see him continuing to marinate Kat and Allan. Kat and Allan, contrary to what we thought they should do and what even Joe thought they should do, are not trying to bring in David. They believe they are aligned with Joe voting against David. Joe does not tell Nick that this is what he is doing. So when he apologizes to Kat for voting her out, Nick already knows that Joe is kind of suggesting to him, maybe we don't vote out this person that you think is a traitor. Maybe we vote out David, who we're not suspicious of instead. And now he's apologizing to her for seemingly no reason. Could that reason be he's a traitor?
Yeah, I can now see it. Now that it's been broken down like that, I can see it. That's enough to doubt it at that point, especially when you were like, the Traitors have done so well this season. Only Jonathan got ousted. I think part of it being, well, clearly the apology at the end is, I'm sorry, I have to do this for my game. I think that's how it got perceived. And I think that, combined with what you said earlier, which is Nick can't help but feel like things are working too well with Joe, and he's a little too loud and a little too alive for being loud. What if I'm the idiot that's being played? Meanwhile, he's getting played by Allan, but he's like, what if Joe is making me look at Allan and I'm the dummy that's falling for that? Because Allan is just a disarming, funny person. He does genuinely forget to say that he is a faithful, or laugh when he's saying he's a faithful. Like, the smokescreen there, combined with his worry that this smokescreen is way bigger and way more of a powerful player, is what really puts the nail in the coffin here.
Absolutely. I want to talk about the Traitor Guardian Angel strategy as well, because I believe it was Matt J who tweeted me and said, Annabel, if Joe and Nick win this season, you have to start taking the Traitor's Guardian Angel strategy seriously again. And I thought, oh gosh, I am going to have to start indulging Traitor's Guardian Angel in the meta again. I think another issue with Traitor's Guardian Angel here, and maybe this is developing freshly as the meta evolves yet again, is that it inherently sows seeds of distrust between fellow faithful, because they wonder, is this person really keeping this traitor in because they think it's their guardian angel? Or are they telling me that's the strategy they're playing, but actually they're both traitors together?
I have seen other people, because of other seasons, also talking about how the Traitor Angel is the most optimal strategy for a faithful. We have come off that boat. We no longer think that's the running theory. And I think a season like this really should put that into perspective, because I do think it makes people paranoid. I think if you are even thinking about playing that kind of game, it makes you concerned that other people are also playing that game. And then it can also make you think, have I overlooked it because I've been so locked into this person being the traitor? Am I just wrong? And is it this other person that I've made connections with as a faithful that is actually the traitor? I think that's something that people definitely will do. And it's almost like a double-edged sword, because you clearly have the mind for the game to think about doing this. But then the issue is, it makes you overthink some of the more very clear relationships. Joe and him should be locked in as faithfuls. They should be. But I think when you cook like that, sometimes you can overcook. And that's when this happens. It's like when your mind keeps working, it can work against you because you're overdoing it. It's like you completed okay, there's an analogy somewhere here, but it's like you found the optimal route to get to this restaurant, Annabelle, and you saved 10 minutes getting to this restaurant. But instead of getting to the restaurant and going in, you now walked 10 minutes past the restaurant for some reason. Like, you didn't need to do that. But if you're clearly just in the zone, you might overdo it, is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like, to illustrate what I was like, was I clear when I explained that? Like, if you, Liana, and I were playing the traitors and I was the traitor, I would tell you that I had a read on Liana, that I believe Liana is a traitor, but let's keep her in as our traitor's guardian angel and let's take her all away and cut her at the end. And I would really lean into that. And I think that we are reaching a stage now where you might expect me to pull a move like that. So whether I'm a traitor or a faithful, it might make you suspicious of me.
Yeah. I mean, then it's like, was Liana ever a traitor? Did I just let Annabelle paint that idea in my head and then I followed that logic without exploring it myself? She is that good. She is that capable. And like, she's been speaking with conviction, and like at the round table, she's vocal. She's putting out names. and she doesn't die. I know she has some shields, but also she's not been dying. That's weird. Why is no one else talking about her? Oh, da 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 da. Yeah, exactly. That is exactly how it would go down. It'd be like, this is almost the perfect game for it. Like, and like, again, because you think about it like that, you are now a little mind fucked. Let's be real, because either or could be correct, right? It's like, maybe you were right all along and it was Liana. And now I am about to cheat myself out of the game because I've overthought it. And I think now you're a traitor when in fact you're not. Or you were a traitor and I did fall for your trick. And then you're like, I don't know which one to do. Then you're kind of paralyzed. And I think that that's what happened here, where it's like, you've known what the answer is for so long that you've now realized this is not an easy game. It was never that easy. It has to be Joe. I'm being stupid. Switch it to Joe. Guess what? It's not Joe. You're like, I had it.
Yeah. They gave themselves too much time to talk themselves out of it. There was not enough time to paint a picture because they kept Jonathan and Kat in for so long when they thought it was them. There was then not enough time of, we've dealt with these two, to move on and have Joe start painting the target on Allan as well. I think that's another flaw with the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just very tough. I think that more often than not, we obviously operate with having all the information. So it's very easy for us to see Allan is clearly bad. Nick and Joe should realize that they are so clearly good. But I think that it's a psychological game. You've played it, so you know more than I could ever. But like, this is your whole world, and they've made it to the very end. So this has been their world for like the last 2 weeks, and they're at the end now, and they can see the end is near, and you can play as perfect as the game as you want. If you then get to the end and lose at the end to the traitor, you're a dummy. It doesn't matter how optimal your game was. So I feel like Nick played a 90% great game, gets to the end and can't make the right decision, but I can't fault him for that, because I think that Joe had moments where he fumbled. I think David had moments where he fumbled. I think Nick had moments where he fumbled. And then Allan had moments where he fumbled. So they all made mistakes to get to the end there. And like,
yeah, completely.
I can't fault them. I really can't.
No. What did you think about the mission? We had a mission. It was there. Peridian was on the edge of his seat.
He was loving every bit of it. Yeah, a mission with $20,000 worth of stake. You know, I was willing to say that this is not a good mission, and then I saw some of the ways they had to it was like a little escape room-esque, where they had to unlock these 4 boxes to get keys, and then use these 4 keys to unlock the 4 coin chests, and then jump off the train that was moving. That 20 minutes to do so. I liked it because there was some trivia with regards to traitor stuff, and like votes, and remove the photos to see the letters in the background. So it was a little escape room-esque, and I was down for it. I thought this was a fun final mission. I like this more than the ones that they had been running before, which is, all right, now the 4 of you are running this gauntlet and you're climbing this mountain, and then you got to collect this, and then you got to go swim for like 40 minutes. No, this is better. This is better.
Yeah, it was cute, not hot. But I liked that it was condensed. I don't need to see them jumping out of helicopters, as you say. Like, let's recognize that we can't really put stakes into the final mission because it's going to skew the game too much. So let's just make the final mission as short as possible. Thanks.
Exactly.
And I just, it was a good, I thought, opportunity for further showcasing of Allan and how unbelievably lovable and funny and what a standout character he's just been on this season.
Yeah, no, this was very fun. Again, Allan always giving us sound bites in every episode and every mission. This was no different. So I did enjoy that quite a bit. And it didn't, because the episode length was a little longer for the finale, it didn't feel like it ate into the time of the show. Like, we still had without commercials, a good 45 minutes of the episode left after the mission, which I was very happy about too.
Yeah, completely. So post-mission, as we discussed sort of briefly before, Joe is sitting down with Allan and Kat. Allan and Kat have not decided to bring David in on board. They are bringing in Joe to vote out David. I thought this was really good on Joe for all the legwork that he has done to this point to look like he is close with them, to look like he can be trusted. It explains a lot of why he's still in the game. And it does mean that they're not approaching people other than him to target him. So I thought that was good. My problem was he didn't put in the time to repair the relationship with David. He has got a tense relationship with David after voting for him so many times, or having David vote for him too. He leaves it up to Nick, and he doesn't know that Nick is wavering.
Yeah, I think that was the big issue here. First of all, shout out to the Traitors. I mean, again, we're talking from a perspective of Kat was kind of cooked because of the fact that she was the lone woman standing. But shout out to them because they picked the right faithful to just put all their money into, versus the faithful boo because y'all didn't put enough work into landing after this banishment. Because I do agree with you that Joe and David's connection not being there really does do him in. I think if he also just put enough work with Nick right before this, I don't see that there's a world where he can turn them around on this. But again, when you come into when your final vote reveal is kind of wavery, is kind of like, I'm sorry, I changed my mind, I'm going Cat. That is so not, that's going to pull up a red flag at the final four. I think not putting in work with David to patch things up, especially when you've pointed the finger at him, he's looking at you and Nick for being weird about that mission also, as well as like your energy during the roundtable. Like they needed to have that conversation. And by they, I mean Joe, because David clearly at this point had kind of, if he survives this banishment, he was going to be fine. And I guess he did. Joe didn't vote for him, but that wasn't enough for David to move through this. That was not enough at all.
No. And I just still think, what if they had kept Lucy and booted Nick at that point? I think Kat could have potentially won the game with Allan, It could have been very different.
Yeah, I don't think Celia gets banished for being a traitor. I mean, weirder things have happened. So even like the murder in plain sight being Celia could have been better. Like I think more women could have switched some stuff up. Leaving Kate for closer to the end here. Leaving Kate at 5 where her role doesn't get revealed would have been huge. They could have pushed her out.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, all right, that was it. That was the other traitor. And then that could have been better as well. But again, we can't be going back too far and criticizing all that because it is what it is. But yeah, they were literally looking at Kate or David. They opted to take out Kate over David. And then, okay. So we just said that could benefit the Traitors. Is there a world where David leaving would have benefited Nick and Joe? Or do you think, no, they were going to push out Kate? Then we might be at the final four with 2 traitors. How would that go?
If we're in the final four, yeah. I mean, it all depends how Joe plays his relationship with Nick. Again, I don't think it matters who that other person is because Kate was, very questioning of Joe as well. If he still prioritizes time marinating the traitors at final 5 over shoring up his relationship with Nick and the other person, I think he still goes.
Yeah. I think there was a little too much complacency that everything worked out with Joe. Joe, I think, thought, all right, well, these 2 are not voting me. They want me to vote out David with them. Nick and I are good. If David is not voting against me, then I'm fine. And then votes Kat thinking, you know what? It's cool. We're going to vote out Allan anyway. We're going to be fine. It's over.
He believed that Nick saw him the way he saw Nick, a hundy. He was so sure that Nick was a faithful. He made the dangerous assumption that Nick felt the same way in return, even though we didn't really see Nick be that effusive about it in the same way. And I am often critical in this final episode of the loser spending a lot of time pushing their agenda rather than listening to the agenda of the other person and hearing, asking those discovery questions, as we would say in sales, around, well, what are your thoughts? What matters to you? What is your priority? What does a win look like in your eyes? And adapting to that. Because if he had spent more time saying, Nick, so you feel really good about Kat being a traitor, great, let's banish her. Who is this second one? Rather than being like, oh, it's Allan, moving on. Again, some of that damage could have been mitigated.
I think he definitely banked on, because we saw with how much conviction Nick talked about Kat being one. But then it was kind of like always like, I think it's Kat and I think it's Allan. But I think it was always like, I think it's Kat and Allan. I think that's kind of more the inflection there. So instead of like really hammering down the second option, I think Joe was like, oh, brilliant. We're on the same page. I think it's Nick. I think it's Kat and it's Allan. Done. But Nick wasn't all the way in. And that's because Nick has been silently also looking at Joe as a suspect this whole time. So I think the other part of it, not to like overanalyze this ourselves, but I'm like, if Joe didn't put enough work to convince him of Allan, could then Nick be like, wow, he really just let me run with Kat and Allan, and I was about to. But like, I still think it's more Joe than Allan. Not enough proofing or pushing of Allan there potentially for him. Because could we jump to the roundtable real quick? Because there was this moment that I really felt good about Allan's response, which was when Joe brings up the whole, hey, you know what I'm about to say. You don't remember when you have shields. I like shields. I don't know why you don't know, like, you don't like shields. And Allan goes, I never said I don't have a shield or I don't remember. You said something like, oh, I guess you're going to sleep well tonight. And I didn't understand what you meant. And that was a misunderstanding. I think that was a great bit of defense there. Again, he has a way of defending himself without being too shady, without being too defensive. It just kind of comes off as innocent. Oh, I genuinely didn't even think of it that way.
Yeah, he's brilliant. And again, I thought that when we saw him going in the defensive or on the defensive in roundtables that he would get more flustered, and he doesn't. He doesn't. He's so good at deflecting that heat off him in a way that doesn't seem like he's deflecting at all. Pretty much everybody gets heat in this roundtable except for Nick, and Joe always comes off as a little bit aggressive in that scenario, and I don't think he means to. It might just be because he's so much larger and more masculine than everybody else there, that's how it's perceived, more threatening. But compared to everybody else, and like compared to Joe, right, Allan just seems so much more likable and therefore trustworthy.
Yeah. I think Joe. Also, the other thing, right? If we want to look at it further on the meta side of things, I really wish we could get interviews with these celebrities. That would make this so much easier than us speculating. But then I'm like, okay, let's study the meta chart again, shall we? Because you had Jonathan Ross, big dog. You have, at this point, they assume Kat, last woman standing. Who's the third? Do you see it being Allan, or is Allan too big dog already? And it could be Joe, the rugby player, the sports representative who has been very vocal, and again, very vocal and very alive still. A little more playing, because Jonathan, maybe you could say Kat's playing from the shadows for sure. Jonathan is the big name, of course. Was Joe always playing from the front this whole time, playing in our faces? This is such an interesting case study for me this season, because I truly do think that, like, you can see that Joe and Nick were playing one of the best faithful games we have seen in a minute. They navigated the Traitors brilliantly, even though we say that the Traitors Angel strat isn't the most optimal strat. It definitely proved one thing for certain, and that was Nick caught on to Kat super early and very much did exactly what he meant to do, which was get Kat out exactly when you need to. Because that's the number one worry I have for these Traitor Angel people, is you don't get rid of them at the right time. He got rid of her at the right time. It just comes down to one thing: a little too lack of communication with the faithfuls, a little lack of reassurance amongst the faithfuls.
Completely. And again, I'm not saying this Traitor Guardian Angel strategy is bad. I'm just saying that, yeah, it's got flaws. And I think something that's interesting about the Traitors versus, say, other social strategy games is that the meta is going to constantly evolve because of the
Yes.
nature of suspicion and the nature of the reasons why you might target someone, which means that the strategies have to constantly evolve as well, which I think makes it a more exciting game.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I think that to me, there's no one optimal way to play as a faithful. I think that it depends on your cast, it depends on your personality, it depends on your play style, and it depends on the perception people have of you. I think all these four things go together, and it's a very complex concoction to make. And who knows? You're never gonna know until you see the cast you're there, how they see you, and how you play it moving forward. Like I truly don't think the Dylan Efron strat works for everybody. I don't think the Nick Muhammad strat works for everybody. I don't think it's a one size fits all. I think it's way more complicated than that. It's like you can't go into the store and buy it off the rack. It's very much tailor made to who you are to play this game. That's at least my complicated read of it.
The Annabel Fidler strategy didn't even work for Annabel. So, you know,
Boo! We're still mad. Stop it.
So post roundtable, again, Joe's like, yeah, David, it's Allan, it's Allan. And David's like, what? Sorry. And Joe's like, oh, I don't know if Nick's locked in David to do this. I'm like, girl, I don't even know if you've locked in Nick, because Nick is spiraling. He's like, why did Joe apologize to Kat on the way out? Joe was coming for Jonathan for such a long time. What if that was a misdirect? This is where I started getting really stressed.
You being a fan of the faithful always. Oh my god. So what's funny is Liana's watching the finale right now, and I just got a text that says they banished Joe. She's gagged. Yeah.
I was gagged.
No, you being a big fan of the faithfuls and rooting for them, this is where I felt like, oh my god, could Allan actually pull this off? Because I just thought, if anything, I thought if Allan is here, he's got so much evidence against him that this ain't gonna happen. I think Joe thought the exact same thing. I think David was there to make history and did. And I think Nick had too much power in his hands. I think that is the big worry. I think people don't recognize how stressful it must be to be the most cleared faithful on the table. Because while other people aren't sussing you, that's great. You now have to decide which one of these people is playing my ass because I'm the most trusted faithful.
Agreed. And I think Nick was so stressed about being made to look like a fool by his best friend Joe that he missed the crucial piece where Allan did not vote out Kat in a crucial spot where they weren't getting money for themselves. The apology to Kat was somehow more damning than voting with Kat.
Like unapologetically sticking with Kat in that spot usually should cost the traitor, right? Especially if you're convinced, you're like, well, you were in the minority. This was your last gasp. You failed. So you must go. But instead, it was this switch up from Joe that seemed more sympathetic to, and I guess they do mention when right after that vote's done, we see a little bit of a closed caption moment where they're talking about how these bonds they've made up has made this so much harder. I think that's part of it, right? They've all been so close that to him, it's like, oh, it would make sense that you would apologize to the traitor that you stabbed in the back because you're both traitors. Like, I think that makes more sense to him than Allan voting with Kat. And like at the final five, that didn't come up at all. But this moment from Joe did, which I think the other part of it is Joe up until this point has been like everybody else, probably a little more sympathetic than everyone, but not this apologetic with a vote reveal this late. Especially if you think they're traitors, you got to chest out it. You know, you got to be like, it's going to be done. Boom.
But Joe didn't tell Nick he had invested the entire afternoon marinating them, promising he was going to vote for David. So of course it made no sense to Nick. Joe didn't give him that critical piece of information either. So that's on Joe. And I feel like I've spent a lot of this episode with you explaining why I think Joe is wrong, talking about where Nick went wrong, completely dismissing David's opinion at all, because let's be real, I do want to give more celebration to Allan, because when they vote out Joe and then all end the game, Allan, Nick, and David, and Allan reveals, both Nick and David just say, amazing game. I never for one moment considered it could be you.
Yeah. Do you want to skip to the very end of this then? Do we want to go to the fire and talk about these reactions? Because I did pull up the photos also to have a little slideshow.
Yeah, let's do that. I mean, there's nothing else to say. They vote Joe, and then next minute, it's very emotional. Oh, very smug. I'm a faithful. And Allan bursts into oh, look at this.
He was so apologetic but happy. And then meanwhile, you have this reaction from Joe, who did not see it coming. The man was blindsided.
Wow. That was when I got a shiver. I'm like, I can't believe this. Team Faithful, what are we doing?
What do you think of this fit? This Final Fire Truth fit from Joe?
Come on, Joe. Get it together. Like, spruce it up a little bit.
He didn't wear his hat.
Asking for a tux. I'm not asking for a tux, but really an overcoat. Did you also notice, I think is this the first time they've had the Fire of Truth inside rather than out around a fire? I wondered if the weather was really bad.
I think the weather was bad because if I remember correctly, the second season of UK was also inside when Harry wins. I think.
I feel like I have a foundational memory of him being outside and being like, sorry.
See, I remember being inside because I remember Jazz. Yeah, it was inside. You know what? It was because I also remember, what was the guy who finished 4th that season? He was a traitor, late recruit. Was he Welsh?
Oh yeah, he was my daddy of the season. I should remember his name, but I'm having a temporary. Yeah,
same.
My Welsh dad.
I remembered him leaving indoors. I remember us being like, "Oh, that was weird that it was inside," but it was because the weather was bad.
Andrew.
Was Andrew. Thank you. That was going to bother me. But you know what didn't bother me was this lovely moment. This lovely moment of Allan winning and getting the two faithful who just got duped be like, "Oh my God, you played so amazing. Don't be upset. You did great." Because Allan was like, "It took a lot out of me. I can't believe I lied this far. It was a lot." And they're like, "No, Allan, come on. It's just a game." Which, by the way, let me get on a soapbox for a second. You see this? These are celebrities. These are celebrities that we assume do not understand game and will take things personally. They said it's just the game. So I don't want to hear it from none of y'all when you get all big mad when they dupe you. Remember, Nick, Muhammad, and David said, "We were dumb. You did great. We never had a clue. Enjoy."
It was cute. It was such a so different. I loved this bit because it's, another reason why I love the Faithful win is it's a celebration. When a traitor wins, it's usually so lonely. The Faithfuls are miserable. They're gutted. They're crying. How could you do this to me? They're leaving. And then it's just Claudia and the traitor being like, well, cheers, I guess. Meanwhile, the real master of manipulation, not yours truly, it's this dude over here who bursts into tears, say, "Oh, this has been so hard for me." And now David and Nick are comforting the guy who has spent the last several weeks lying to them, being, "No, Allan, you're so deserving. You're a great winner. You did brilliantly." And it was just so much nicer than it usually feels.
Also, this moment really stuck out to me. When Nick was like, "Oh my God, you got us." That was a great moment. Also, I was trying to rack my brain, Annabelle, in the English speaking franchises, have we ever had a final 3 with a traitor win? Because I'm thinking, and I feel like the ones I can think of, I don't think we've had it. So having 2 people there for reactions, we've never had. So again, a first.
Yes, there's only been one other traitor win, and there was only one person with them.
Right. So
in UK.
Yes. The other thing I really liked about this finale is that we then pan out to the outside, because I guess the weather wasn't bad outside, but we had Kat already there, we had Joe there, and then they're waiting to find out. And also while these three are inside, they are told who the traitors were. So he's like, it was Jonathan, and was Kat? Oh, okay, it was Kat. And then Nick realized, like, oh my God, it wasn't Joe. And Alan's like, nope, it was not Joe. Because you know how much worse that is? To lose to the traitor is one thing. To lose to the traitor realizing, oh, the 50-50 that we could have had, we just fumbled. The last person we put up was not a traitor. Yikes. Okay, so because I think part of it was like, if they find out there were two traitors, they could live with that a little bit. They just realized that they just threw out that money. They threw out the win.
If I knifed my best friend, I'd be like, well, it was okay because he was a traitor. If I find out I knifed my best friend, he was completely innocent and it lost me the game, I would never emotionally recover from that.
That would be a lot. That would be a lot because when you do things like this, you're just hoping that you made the right call. So, and more often than not, sometimes you'll never know, right? You're like, it was an instant call, but who knows? We'll never know the result. Here, it's immediately told to you, oh, no. If you had gotten me out, you would have won. Like, you would have fully won if you did not get him out and got me out instead. And then, because it wasn't only the fact that it wasn't the fact that they voted out Joe. I think it was then Nick's reaction of, Joe was right. It was Allan. It was Allan and Kat. He was right all along, and we punished him for it. You can't script this stuff. You just cannot.
You can't. It's so fun. I love this TV show. It's so amazing. I loved that afterwards we got to see Joe forgive Nick, that we got to see them all surrounding Allan and celebrating his win together, which is something we never get. It made it feel more celebratory, like, yes, this is a win and we enjoyed this season and we enjoy this win and we're really happy about it. And oh, I love the Traitors. I'm so glad it's Traitors season. This was an amazing season. And I hope we get another celebrity season with just as good celebrities.
I want to say that it's already been renewed for a second season before the season like even aired, I think.
Allan's had his Chatty Man show brought back as well.
Oh, really? Amazing.
Yeah. And I reckon Joe's made, like Joe Marler, he's set up now, I reckon, as a retired rugby player. You don't get a whole lot of TV opportunities, but I can see a lot more opportunities coming his way.
Yeah. Oh, and we got a return date for the Traitors. By the looks of it, for the Traitors UK.
When's that coming?
Let's see. 2026. Yeah.
For UK Celebrity?
No. Civilian. January 1st, it looks like.
Oh my gosh.
So not that far off. UK, I remember, was renewed. We just don't have a date or anything yet, but it's obviously going to come out next year, most likely.
Okay. So, it's due to be released on Jan 1st?
Civilian season 4, yes.
Okay. Amazing. Well, we usually get US a week after that, so it's all systems go.
Listen, we don't stop here over in Traitor Nation. We just keep covering season after season. No, Annabelle, this was an amazing season. 5 weeks also. I felt like getting 2 episodes a week was kind of the perfect sweet spot. I know that, I've talked about how weekly episodes I do enjoy more because we can parse through and talk about it. So never a binge, anti that. But I feel like 2 is the sweet spot. 2, you get a little bit more information and we get to talk through it with a little more detail than a 3 episoder. So I've preferred this. I hope they do this because, again, you will get more weeks of the show also. Like this was an extra week, which I was very happy about. And then I think as far as because I was trying to think, we had technically Traitors UK season 3, US season 3, Ireland season 1, and now Celeb UK season 1 all air this year, with season 4 airing later, or not really season 4, but Traitors Canada 3 airing right now also. Of these 4, where does Celeb UK rank for you for this year?
Ooh.
If we were crowned the best season of the year.
Of everything that we've seen so far?
Of this year.
Oh, of this
UK
year.
3, US 3, Ireland 1, this one.
Okay. I place this above UK 3 and US 3.
Okay, same.
Now, I actually think I enjoyed this more. Oh, I really liked Ireland.
Same.
I really liked Ireland. I think this had a more likable cast. So I loved the Ireland season, but we didn't get enough of Owen. Nick, even though I was
That's
so
true.
impressed with his gameplay, was just not a super rootable character in any sense of the word, Australian and US meanings combined. Whereas this season had the perfect combination of incredible characters and exciting gameplay, but there was that slow part as well. I think I put this my favorite so far. What about you?
We have the same rankings. It goes, this is number one. I think Ireland and US 3. I was very fond of US 3. It's my favorite US season currently. But damn, it's close. I still think I give the edge to Ireland because I do think US had a little bit of a slow like descent as well. And then I think UK3 does end up in fourth, but also this is something that I feel about the Traitors, and it still rings true. Being fourth on my list does not mean it was a bad season. I enjoyed every season. Like this has been a top tier year for the Traitors, and it's only looking to stay as good as it is because Canada also is a banger so far. So we are being fed so well. I actually think if I sat down for a second, and I know you and I have done a pod where we told people, we give them a little guide of what to watch, what are the big ones to watch. What is the worst Traitor season I've seen? I'm trying to think about
US
that right
1,
now.
US 1, or US 2.
US 1 or US 2. Ooh, I liked US 2. US 1, I loved, without telling you what, I love the winner. Watching it from that perspective is good, but I will admit there were some lully moments. If not for the binge model, it might not have landed as well either.
People are critical of Canada 1 and New Zealand 1 as well, but I
love
personally
Canada
quite enjoyed
1.
them. I loved
Yeah.
Canada 1. I thought
I
New
liked some
Zealand 1 was
characters on New
good.
Zealand 1. New Zealand 1 is a weaker one for me, but I still enjoyed it. It was a little more budget, but I didn't mind that at all. It was fun.
I loved the US 1 winner, but I found it a very difficult
No,
season
US 1
to
is
watch.
fair, especially then. Honestly, for me, a little bit, it was also soured because of the goddamn, literally what I say earlier about the whole like the way they reacted to Allan being the traitor and celebrated it. That's not how that went that season. Yeah. So that really left a bitter taste in my mouth too. So you know what? Fuck it. US 1 might be my weakest season, but not even close to weakest winner. Hell, one of the strongest winners we have coming out the franchise. So yeah, easy pickings. But no, again, I think ultimately, if I'm lining up all the years, I think this has been our strongest year of Traitors so far. I really do, cumulatively. And I think that that's only going to be picked up with more steam in 2026 when we get the 1-2 punch of season 4 UK and then US season 4. Oh my God. Oh God.
And Australian Traitors is coming back.
And you better be there to talk me through who these celebrities are on that season, because I've seen the cast and I know like 5 people, maybe on a good day.
Well, I got you covered. Covered.
All right. Well, before that happens, we're going to be reunited here, Annabelle, to talk about season 4 of Traitors UK. But you will be getting a bit of break from me for a couple of months, so enjoy that, I suppose. Actually, I will make you come back on the 90-day, so you're not going to get rid of me just yet. But I know you and I are going to be covering the same show in the interim apart. Let people know where they can find that for Traitors Canada.
Yes. So once you've got your strategy breakdown from Pooya and Brian on Traitors Canada, pop on over to Babes on the Brink, where we have the dramatic roundtable reenactment, what's going on with Natalie Watch, and how to identify if your coworker is secretly gay. We are covering all of that. Babes on the Brink, Chili Philly, and I. Pooya, what else are you doing?
Listen, I just want to say real quick, I know Annabelle may not watch my coverage of Canada, but I love hers. It's so much fun. So make sure you check it out.
Full of it. I listen to yours every week, and you never listen to me.
Perfect. Then ditto. We both listen to each other's. Then that's amazing. It's a good time. It really is. Again, it's so fun. You make it so fun, and I enjoy it every week. It's an absolute treat to me. It's like when I listen to it, I don't need anything to go with my tea because it's sweet now. Anyway, you can also find me on all socials at Pooyaism, twitch.tv/Pooya for your streaming needs. And then listen to me and Scally talk about Traitors Canada. The exit interviews this week were not did not work out. We couldn't schedule, so we are currently looking at next week. We might have one for you, but it's pending, so be on the lookout for that. And then Liana and I talking over on the Pooya and Liana Lounge. So make sure you find out why the thumbnail this week is Liana being abducted by aliens, because that's the thing that happened today that we talked about at length. She was not abducted by aliens, but you'll get the context later. Annabelle's giving us the thumbnail face. We love it. Y'all, thank you so much for, well, I don't know what you're doing there. Thank you very much, everybody.
Probe. That was Liana getting probed.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you clarified. I didn't know what you were saying. Hope you had fun with us on this season's coverage. We really had a good time. So we really do appreciate y'all checking this out. You've shown us so much love with Ireland and UK back to back here. We'll catch y'all in about 2 months for UK season 4. But until then, y'all take care. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.
This is RHAP. We know reality TV.